Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on May the 2nd, 2023. I'm your host, Game Psychologist, and with me, as always, asking for something that's a little bitter and a little sweet.
And a little caffeine rage.
Indeed. On today's show, we will be hitting our April Game Club, which is Coffee Talk. We'll tell you what May's Game Club is going to be. Cloud gaming blocks Microsoft and Activision merger? ? Live service keeps killing modestly successful multiplayer games, and it doesn't have to be this way. Atari announces an acquisition of more than 100 PC and console titles from the 80s and 90s. 80% of game workers are interested in a 4-day week. Skillsearch survey finds. And a couple of articles in a community corner. Apple's iOS walled garden doesn't break antitrust laws, and appeals court affirms. And a fan unwittingly scores new Magic the Gathering cards early before Wizards of the Coast gets 19th century on his ass. The Pinkertons showed up and took everything. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rage.
Hello.
How are you?
Caffeinated.
That's good. I haven't had any caffeine tonight. I had so much coffee at work today. I did not get any tonight, but I'm painting. I got my light turned on. Like, I should be good as long as I don't get a sore throat. It is allergy season.
Yeah. I've been taking my antihistamines every day for 2 weeks or 2 months now.
Yeah, me too. So, dear listener, apologies for the 2-week absence. One of those was planned. I had a conference that I went to, for my continued education credits as part of my license.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. I got to take a day and a half off from work, got paid, learned some stuff about doing some couples counseling that, just kind of updates to a lot of stuff I learned in school, but some new methodology and approaches for dealing with infidelity. That was nice to learn. That is dealing with infidelity in counseling. I have a story. Not from that. That reminds me of a story from my corporate compliance training, which was yesterday. You have to do it once a year, and my year was up. I'll get to that in a second. And last week, though, was kind of unexpected. I had some very personal things happen. Rage knows the gist of what went down. Everything is fine now. Gonna be working on some positive changes in my life in the future, but it just technically it was settled in time to be able to record, but I was very frustrated and frazzled, so I would have not been able to really record last week. So that's why we wound up going Franken last week. Corporate compliance training. So we were doing a section on fraud, and we have to do the same training every year. And it's basically fraud bad. Don't defraud insurance companies or the state. And there's this old lady, and she's going through this stuff. There's 3 of us in there other than her.
One of your co-workers would know that.
Right. But she's going through, and she's like, yes, so in conclusion, and as a review of the module, if you accidentally commit fraud by billing for something and we catch it and we fix it, no problem. If it continues to happen, there may be disciplinary action. Remember, if you do an intentional fraud, it is, and I jump in and go, based. Are you familiar with that whenever people say based?
Are you asking me or?
I'm asking you.
Vaguely?
Okay. I mean, basically, if someone says that it's based, it's that's a really good thing to do. It's used most commonly. I've seen it used to describe whenever people are talking to, they're people who are have sort of far left ideals that are tear down capitalism. It's based to steal from the man or to steal from corporations or whatever. So she's like, what's it called if you do intentional fraud? And I go, based. And everyone looks at me, and she's so confused, and she goes, did you say abuse? I just shook my head no, and she goes, okay, sorry, I just didn't hear you there. And then like she keeps going. I'm like, my boss's name, her name is Anita. My clinic director there, her name's Anita. And she like leans over to me and she's like, you're gonna wind up getting fired if you like keep that up. I just shrugged my shoulders. Like, I don't think she was threatening me. I just think she was like, one day they're gonna catch on to what you're doing. I don't know. She did my annual performance reviews, and it was like the highest you can score is a 4, which seems really strange to me. And I got like a 3.9. So like, I'm not worried about her like threatening me or whatever. It's just, yeah, I think she's like, be careful or they'll figure out what you're saying one day and then you'll get fired. But honestly, I don't care. I'll just go work. Like, technically, I mean, I do work in the private sector, but I work in what's called community mental health, which is 3/4 state funded anyways. I'll go full private sector if that happens. So yeah, that's my quick story. Like, that just, I had forgotten all about that. And it happened yesterday. I had a busy day, which, I mean, Tuesdays are normally busy for me. Like, that's normal. Tuesday's one of my 2 busy work days. But I can't believe that slipped my mind until just now. But anyways, yeah. So, what do you have? Anything you want to talk about, or do you want to dive into some coffee talk?
Well, let's dive into a nice giant vat of coffee, because I don't really have anything that I could talk about just yet. What's going on?
Okay.
Which I know that sounds ominous, but it's okay. Might be slightly, but it's not my story just yet. So we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there eventually. So let's have some nice, relaxing, I guess soft jazz playing and do some coffee talk.
Yeah. So Coffee Talk is the game that we played for Gameclub. If this is your first time here, which there's a chance that this might be some of y'all's first time here after that Twitter conversation I had with
which they're based if they are.
They are based if they're here. But after that Twitter conversation I had with someone who's moderately more followers than me, and several of my relatively new clients who just discovered that I do a video game podcast. Hello. I'm not sorry. You knew what you were getting into. You sit in my therapy office once a week or so. Game Club is...
And it's also, the whole lack of pants, right?
Yeah. Well, I do have to wear pants at work. They've never seen me pantsless.
But that's not your choice.
That is not my choice. But Game Club is a time where the two of us intentionally play a game at the same time. It sometimes happens anyways, but we do it on purpose. We tell the community about it ahead of time if they want to play along with us. And then we discuss it. And for the month of April, we picked a game called Coffee Talk, which is a kinetic-ish
I call it a kinetic-ish visual novel with some light barista simulation.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. We played
it's essentially a visual novel. There's a little bit of choice going on behind the scenes, but it's more the details than the overall story. So I'm leaning more towards the kinetic side of visual novels than anything.
Yeah. We played this game using Game Pass. It's available there at time of recording if you're interested in playing it late, but it's also on Steam and pretty much anywhere else PC games are sold. It goes on discount all the time. Or not all the time, but frequently enough. I don't know how much it is at retail. Let's look here. Coffee Talk. $12.99 is what the one that we played costs. And looks like it's been on sale.
It goes on sale down to $6.48.
So about 50% off.
Yeah, and it goes actually on frequent sales. It's been on sale, looks like 4 times this year. 3 times. Once in January, twice in January, and once again, just I was going to say last month, but month before last, because it's May now.
We are officially in May, yes.
Oh God, right.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the very basic rundown of Coffee Talk. Game Club and Coffee Top at a very Coffee Talk at a very top down level. There we go. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think you need more coffee.
I might. I just cracked open a Diet Coke. There's a little bit of caffeine in there, not as much as coffee, but a smidgen. But yeah, Coffee Talk. I don't dislike it. I was expecting more. I was expecting a little more gameplay. I was expecting the barista stuff to be a little more impactful. And I was expecting there to be a few dialogue choices.
Well, here's the thing, okay? There are choices. And I went into this into Game Club knowing exactly what's going on because I had played at least a couple days of Coffee Talk before the discussion for it to be in Game Club ever came up. So it didn't really blindside me as much as it did you. But the choices are if you successfully fulfill people's requests. And like I said, it changes some of the details. There's one major thing when Hendry is injured. If he makes a full recovery or if he's actually paralyzed. But overall, the broad strokes of the story stay the same. That's why it's kind of kind of straddling that line of kinetic novel or not kinetic visual novel.
Yeah.
But there are choices that happen. It's not choices in your dialogue. It's choices on how you fulfill people's requests, and that changes some things. But it's not as broad as, going way back, like If My Heart Had Wings, where, changing a couple dialogue choices, takes you down an entirely different path. That's not what this game is.
Yeah. See, from what had been described or what I had heard this game described as before, I thought there were more choices to be made. And I guess the discussion I'd heard before was focused entirely on the beverage creation and the way in which that can impact the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not connect those dots prior to playing it. So I was surprised, I thought that there was going to be a little more choose your own adventure style stuff to it. I wasn't expecting a full adventure game. I don't mean that. I knew that it was a visual novel. I wasn't expecting something crazy, but I was expecting a little bit more given how much praise I have seen this game receive. So I liked it, but I was disappointed in it.
See, I didn't have the disappointment because I knew exactly what I was getting into, but I did like it overall. I do wish that it did more, but that was kind of the scope of things. Yeah. So I'm not really holding that against it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I wish that actual beverage creation or the latte art factored more than one or two times you actually had to do latte art.
Yeah, you can do it more times, but you only have to do it a couple of times.
And you just make a squiggle on it, and that's behold, modern art.
Right. I got pretty good at making the smiley face. That was the latte art I always did.
Here I thought you would have been just doing dicks the entire time.
I actually tried to do dicks a couple of times. I wasn't happy with them.
Knew it.
So then I just was like, I'll just stick to smiley faces. But yeah, I did try to make dicks. I don't want to go through the entirety of the story. I mean, I'm not opposed to spoiling things here or there, but also I don't want to litigate the entire story for all the characters. I do want to talk maybe about some of my favorite characters, a couple of my favorite moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's essentially a story of pairs for the most part, where outside of various interactions between the different groups, it's pairs, couples having issues. And I don't want to say couples just in the romantic sense, because there's a father-daughter thing going on there, and this is Seattle. It's not Alabama. We're not going there.
Right. I mean, so there's Freya is the character.
Yeah, she's kind of the oddball one out. Well, her and Georgie. that they're not really paired off.
I think Freya's paired off to you as the barista.
Kinda, but maybe that one becomes more clear in the sequel, which we'll possibly get to someday. But Georgie's just kind of on his own.
Yeah. There's this hint of familiarity, or not hint, like there's some pretty clear indications of familiarity between you and Freya. And I don't think that there's a romantic, I mean, I think you could read it as like some romantic interest. I don't think that's the explicit message, but it does seem like, a couple of old friends in some of their interactions, especially when talking about Freya's story. But Freya, for the listener, is one of the characters that shows up in your coffee shop that you as the player own and operate. Freya is a journalist who is trying to write a novel. She's done her first novel. She's done some short story writing within the context of the universe.
Yeah, which you can actually read some of it. Yeah.
Most of the characters, maybe all of the characters that you interact with, like her short stories and are encouraging of her writing a book. And she appears to have some kind of familiarity with the player character. Again, it feels more like a friendship kind of thing, as opposed to romantic.
The first character you interact with, and it's suggested that she's come there for years.
Yeah.
So, while some of the other ones are irregular at best, that just happen during this window of a couple weeks that the story takes place. Comes in for the first time.
Yeah. You know what? I just thought of this. I get kind of Cheers vibes off of Freya. It's like, you come in and you're like, hey! Yeah. Yeah. But that's kind of the vibe I get. Like, she's a regular. She's been coming for forever. There's friendship vibes going on, but not like super duper close. It's good. It's a good
companionship.
Vibe. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, kind of makes me think of this relationship I had with a barista at the coffee shop here in town. There used to be only one coffee shop in this area. There are several now, but there was one, and I would go in there when I was studying, when I was in college, and I'd get the same drink every time. I'd spend a little while talking to the barista. His name was John, and then I'd go do homework. And that's the same kind of thing, except she's writing or doing her actual work. But so yeah, I like Freya. She's a fine character. She's not my favorite. She's just that's always Myrtle. There. Oh yeah, Myrtle is my favorite. But she's a big buff orc woman
who's a game developer.
I guess, did we say Coffee Talk is a fantasy, modern fantasy, where that fantasy stuff is true and real. And we got
matter of fact, Freya's idea for one of her ideas for the novel is in a world where only humans exist, and there's a lot of disbelief of, well, how's there going to be any conflict with that?
Yeah. And then it does like some lamp shading with like, oh yeah, even the smallest differences will spark conflict, like the color of someone's skin or the country that they're born in.
Oh, there's a lot of lampshade hanging from various directions, especially with Myrtle and Aqua's story.
Yeah.
Talking about game developers and how indie devs are kind of looked down upon.
Yeah. That one felt deeply personal, which, indie game, et cetera, et cetera. So there probably is a lot of very deeply personal stuff in that story for them. But yeah. Myrtle's my favorite. She's a buff orc lady. There's Aqua, who is
Merwoman.
A merwoman. She's more like for anyone who plays D&D, she's kind of like a Triton. But she's kind of a socially awkward lady.
No. The word is adorkable.
Adorkable. Yes, she's very adorkable. I'm pulling up the character list here. Let's see, Freya. Okay, Lua. I'm just gonna go down the rest of the way from how they're listed in the TV tropes. So Lua, she's a succubus who is having troubles with her boyfriend / wants to be fiance. They are a
interracial
couple, and they're having issues with his family, with him being an elf. So elves in this universe are still high society, snobbish assholes. And so,
and she's also worried. It's not really spoilerish because it's spelled out literally the first day you meet them. She's worried that them being together will cause him to get disowned, and he loses his immortality because of it. Because in this world, elves are immortal through the power of their family. They don't really elaborate on what's going on or how that works, but all right.
Yeah, I think they're kind of following the general gist of the Lord of the Rings on that one. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I get the sense of like, oh, okay, if you get banished or choose to give up your immortality, that you'll still die. You'll live a long life, but you'll still die at the end.
Which next character up is Bailey's, which is the elf.
Which is the elf, her boyfriend. Honestly, I thought he should be queer. Like, he looked like he should be queer.
No, that's on down.
Yeah. Then there's Georgie. Georgie's the cop that you mentioned earlier. He's like the good guy, like the good cop trope. And I mean, in the story, he seems fine enough.
Well, he's just kind of there in the story. He shows up a few times, but at least in this episode, there's no real progression with him. It's just he's there.
Yeah. Hyde, which is a vampire, who is
a vegan vampire.
A vegan vampire, yes, who is a male model. And he gives away that yes, all of these modeling companies use vampires in their advertising because we have naturally supple skin and we literally don't age.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, capitalism. It was capitalism all along.
I mean, he said that he's been modeling for over 40 years, right?
Yeah. And then Gala,
werewolf.
is a werewolf who is a longtime friend of Hyde.
Which, for a while, I thought they were, coming together.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one, right?
As a romantic couple.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I mean, spoilers. I'm looking at TV tropes for one of the endings that they can get. We're not wrong. But that this looks like that's the sort of the perfect ending for them, which I guess is tied to finding Gala's rage thing.
Yeah, which I did get that.
Then there's Rachel, who is a transforming cat girl, who is in a band. I almost said a boy band, but it's not a boy band. A girl group.
Basically, think of it like this world's analogy for K-pop groups.
Oh, that's a good analogy. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
Where the girls are basically worked to death, and outside of that individual group, they're nothing.
Yeah. And her thing is she's trying to have a solo career, and her father doesn't want her to do that.
Her father also is a former person, big shot in the music industry, and he's really worried about his little girl being exploited. And the thing is that, all right,
yeah. Then there's Myrtle, who we've already talked about, big buff orc lady game designer,
who hasn't gone on vacation for 3 or 4 years.
Yep. Then there is Neil, who is an alien.
Yes.
You never get to see him. He's just wearing a space suit. I like Neil. Neil's kind of silly. Aqua, who we already discussed, and then Hendry, who you mentioned a few minutes ago, but that is Rachel's father.
Cat Dad.
Cat Dad.
Which he also has this kind of thing of not letting go as well. I mean, I can't believe it's not Facebook posts. His photo on there is from years ago, wherein Rachel is a little girl. So, very much not letting go, but right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically, intertwined stories between all these people together. And I think you hit it right on the nail right on the head with Cheers.
Yeah. It feels like if Cheers was a coffee shop, and maybe there's, a TV show that literally is that, a sitcom that's that. I don't watch a lot of sitcoms, but maybe there's one that exists, and you, dear listener, are like, it's like blah, 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 blah. But, Cheers is... That's a big one, I hit it. But it does feel very much like Cheers. And there are these pairings, and you kind of comment on each of their stories as time goes on in your interactions with the other characters. I think they rely on Florence pretty heavily for that, which makes sense for what it is that she does.
Yeah, you mean Freya?
Or Freya. What did I say? Florence?
You
I'm
said
sorry.
Florence. It took me a moment like,
I'm sorry.
Who the fuck is Florence?
I don't know why I said Florence. I meant Freya. I don't know where Florence came from. Don't mind me. I think I was just looking at Rachel's page, her last, with her last name being Florencia. I just said Florence.
Yeah, so fancy, right?
So fancy. But anyways, yes, so you kind of interact with these people's lives and you make them coffee drinks, which is, I think, the only thing we haven't really talked about, which it's a pretty simple mechanic. You get, as the game goes on, a number of increasing ingredients. You can add up to 3 to a drink at a time, and the order that you add them in, or, sort of the amount of each ingredient that you add them in, determines what beverage that you make. And there's a whole list, and you sometimes you're told what some of them are. Otherwise, you can just kind of guess.
Sometimes you're just given a name. Or some sort of attributes, like I want something that's warm and sweet.
Yeah.
And if you mouse over the ingredients, it gives you how adding that attribute will change things. I mean, honestly, probably the best way to handle that is just to go into free play and just start randomly tapping ingredients, right?
Yeah.
I mean, every combination comes out with a drink, so you basically just go down the list. Coffee, 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 milk, coffee, ginger, right?
Yeah.
And eventually unlock it all.
And you can trash up to five drinks a day in game. So free play would be the easiest, but you can also experiment over time. If every day you're purposely trashing several drinks to learn the new ones, you can also, if you want to, you can just look up a list. There's a list. There were a couple.
Yeah,
I just looked up.
I just looked up a list, especially with Gallo's cure, because right.
Yeah, but
especially that is one thing that I didn't really like, is that having it have to be in a certain order made it very easy to flip things.
Yeah.
So having coffee, honey, milk isn't the same as coffee, milk, honey.
Yeah. Which I figured that out pretty quick, but there were a couple times I made drinks and I'm like, well, this is what you asked for. And like, this isn't quite what I asked for. But then you just do it again and you flip it. And they're like, oh, it's perfect. It's like, okay. And you can see that it changes the stats differently, but I didn't really think about that at first. I just thought it was the ingredients themselves, but it is also what order you put them in.
Yeah, which I'm assuming that it's some sort of ratio. The first ingredient is your base, which makes up a majority of the drink. Then an additive, and then a finishing.
Yeah.
Adding ginger on the second ingredient instead of the third would be adding as a main ingredient instead of a garnish.
Yeah. The coffee
was a little annoying.
The coffee mechanic is one that is very strange. It's not bad. It makes sense, but
it suits the purpose.
It does, but it feels like either there should be more to it, but then I think you're making a different game, or it should be less prominent, but then I think, well, what's the point? It's in this weird, awkward place, because if you do flesh it out a lot more, which I would love to see, you're not having so much of a story game. You're having a barista game. This is the game now. But if you back off from it too much more, maybe any more, then it's well, why is this here? It serves really little to no purpose. be better off just focusing on the story at the coffee shop. So I feel kind of bad for criticizing it because I think it's a fine mechanic, but it just feels a little off.
I mean, I think the the main focus or the main purpose of it is to give essentially a choice at certain points. Like when a character comes in injured, not wanting to spoil too much, because it is like a 4 or 5 hour game.
Yeah, it's not very long.
And asking for a very particular drink. Giving them the wrong thing at that point is essentially choosing like the bad choice for a dialogue. Yeah. Only instead of a dialogue choice, it's through gameplay mechanics. It's just a little bit of a strange way to handle it. But I don't think it's a terrible way to handle it. Especially like in universe.
And the game gives you a couple of opportunities at the beginning, I think, to realize that, where there's not really a consequence if you give the wrong drink, other than people being like, oh, that's not quite what I asked for. But, yeah. Overall, I liked it. I just kind of wish it was a little bit more in-depth.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games that really shines with Game Pass. Because if I bought this on Steam, even at its biggest sale price of like $12, it'd feel a little bit overpriced to me for such a such a short experience and such a directed one. Which I know you could pad it out a bit more with the achievements. There's one where you have to go into free play mode and serve so many proper drinks and that sort of thing. But that feels very tacked on to me.
Yeah. Oh, I have to say, speaking of achievements, I like the achievement where that Aqua says achievement unlocked, and then you get an achievement. I thought that was cute.
Yeah, that's my second favorite wall break with achievements now. I don't think anything's going to be able to outdo Portal, or Portal 2, I should say. But, it's a close second.
Yeah, that was
although
good. I enjoyed that.
It was ruined a little bit for me by, I don't know if it's just my computer or if it's the way the Windows Store, whatever, handles achievements. There's a noticeable delay sometimes with achievements unlocking and them popping up as a notification. And it was like a good 15 seconds for me for that one.
Yeah, mine was right on the money. It's like achievement unlocked, and then I pressed space for the next dialogue, and then it pops. So it was maybe 1-2 seconds after it actually comes across the screen. I'm a pretty fast reader, so that might have also been why it didn't seem to pop at quite the right time for me. Because I was reading, and I was too fast for it. I'm not sure, but it was
mentally. I was kind of laid back. Had the cat being needy in my arms, and just had it on autoplay for a while.
Yeah,
even then it was kind of slow on the achievement pop.
I played this, and I wish I would have done it differently. I played this in short bursts at work. I would play a day or most of a day and then stop, do some work or whatever because it was short. And I wish I had played this in bed. I wish I'd laid in bed and played this on my computer or, something like that, like on my laptop, or maybe downloaded it to my Xbox and played it reclined back in the couch. I didn't do that. I think this would have made that a better story too. I didn't feel tense or whatever, but also I wasn't quite as comfy as maybe I should have been.
See, I was leaned back in my computer chair. If I did have it on autoplay, I was just actually using the controller for most of the time just to progress dialogue, and then if I had to do latte art or something, grab the mouse.
Yeah.
But I played it all in 3 sessions, and that was mostly just to try to time it for last week's episode.
Yeah, but
Which I
Yeah,
say, the how long to beat is pretty much on the money of about 4-ish hours, depending on how quickly you read. I do feel that it feels like it would be served a little bit better for a slightly lower price tag. Once again, yeah, we're playing it through Game Pass, which does help quite a bit, but there's quite a difference once you pass that $10 threshold, to at least in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
And the sale price usually brings it down to about 870 US. So, I mean, the spring sale price of 649, feels like right on the money to me. So, all right.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if it's available on mobile. I think this would be a great game to play on my phone, especially on my new phone. I told you I didn't mention that in the Craig recording. I accidentally drop kicked my phone across the
Mhm.
room and smashed it. I got a new one. Um, but I've
Yeah,
got
well, why would you do that?
because I'm clumsy. I dropped it when I tried to catch it. I punted it, but I've got the Galaxy S23 Ultra, which has got a massive fuck off screen. Like this would be great. I'm actually looking forward to playing some visual novels on my phone, doing just that, lying in
Mm.
bed, reclining on the couch, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's on mobile.
Which sucks. I think this would be a good one. If
Yeah, I
my
think
heart
if
had wings, had a really good mobile
Mhm.
port.
Yeah, I think whenever I upgrade phones, it's not going to be to another Samsung. They've removed too many features that I use.
Yeah. But so yeah, coffee talk. I give it a solid like B.
I would I would give it a B plus mostly because I knew what was going into it, so yeah, the disappointment's not there.
Yeah. I do want to play more though. That's the thing.
Mhm.
I do want, especially now that I know what I'm getting into. I think I would like other the other games or the next in the story
Yeah, which
better.
hey, how about that? As we were doing the game club, they released the sequel, which is just coincidence because we set these up months ahead of time, and I didn't
Yeah,
even know that there was a sequel coming out at the time.
we set these up at the beginning of the year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so. This one was originally supposed to be uh, June, but yeah, one of the games that we were had on the list went off Game Pass, and we missed that it did. So everything, not counting the next one, shuffled up one, or in Coffee Talk's case, 2 months.
Yeah.
Speaking of the next game,
Yeah. Why don't you tell the people what our next Game Club game is?
well, we're leaving a calling card and doing Persona 5.
Woo!
Yeah, a big one coming in, which I don't think we're going to finish. I mean,
No, definitely not, unless I take some vacation time, which, as much as I'd love to, is not in the cards. I don't think.
I've played a fair amount. I'm probably about 20-ish hours in, which sounds like a lot, but this is Persona.
Yeah, this is going to be my first Persona game. I have wanted
Actually,
to play
mine
Persona
too.
for a long time. Um, for a long time it was exclusively on PlayStation, and yes, I know you can emulate, etc., but I just never have. And then Persona 5, and then they've now released some of the older Persona games, but
Mm.
I think Persona 5 was the first one that came to PC. Maybe Persona 4, I'm not
I,
sure,
I
but
I I think Persona 5 was the first one because the remakes of 4 and 3 came out after Persona 5 released.
yeah.
According to How Long to Beat, Persona 5 is 57 and a half hours.
So it's possible, but that's a
That's
lot.
no lifing it.
I think I could get through it all this month if I played nothing else
And
for the
that's
whole month.
assuming, of course, if I didn't get a game over state where I would have to restart.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're gonna get as far as we can. Probably do some like story kind of looking ahead. Um, at least I will. I will if so that I can at least know what's going on later on in the game. I think I'll feel pretty good about it if I can get 30 hours of playtime in between now and the end of the month. I just don't get as much time to play games as I used to, which sucks because I have tons of games I want to play. But anyways, Persona 5. Game Club for May.
Woo!
So let's move on to our other stuff. Let me get back over here to the topics list. So for our first news topic of the night, cloud gaming blocks Microsoft and Activision Blizzard merger? Question mark.
So this one's been kind of in the news on and off for quite a while. These two coming together, and oh boy,
Yeah.
So it seems like the British Consumer Merchant Agency. Now I'm double Competition and Markets Authority. Sorry, because everyone is abbreviating at CMA, and it's not the Country Music Awards. This is something different.
Yeah.
Reba may be powerful, but she's not this powerful. As blocked and potentially, if shit goes poorly, blocked it for a decade. The merger, which essentially kills it outright, because sure, they can pull out of the UK if need be, but that's still a fairly decent market, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the backlash from pulling out would be much more damaging than the initial revenue lost.
So the main crux of the issue, it comes down to cloud gaming. And that with the addition of Activision Blizzard's catalog into a potential of xCloud and the derivatives of that on PC, it would make Microsoft too much of a monopoly on gaming to be able to make the CMA feel good about this merger. And there's some other things that, Microsoft is starting to push having a very, very large catalog with the Activision Blizzard merger, but the cloud gaming was kind of the tipping point of it.
Yeah.
And I did some digging, and cloud gaming is a lot bigger in Europe, as we suspected for quite a while, because the US is just too spread out to really have it be a good investment here.
Too spread out and has too unreliable still of internet infrastructure. The United States is getting better than it used to be, but that's a pretty low bar if we're honest with ourselves. So, but yeah, I was surprised when you looked at these statistics. Like I have said on the show before, like I'm on record saying, like I think cloud gaming and sort of having an all-in-one device for the average household, the average family or group of people is going to become over time the norm. But I still didn't realize how big cloud gaming was. You said cloud gaming was estimated to have, what was it, 20 million users worldwide?
There was some numbers that was kicked around, but and I couldn't find anything definitive because everybody's obviously wanting to keep their numbers secret because, right?
Yeah.
But the number I kept seeing pop up was 20 to 25 million, which is essentially Steam's market, or I should say current user base. Right now on Steam, as I'm speaking these words, there's 20 million people online, with a peak online today of 31 million of active accounts. I mean, I know the same accounts aren't on every single day, but But the active pool, cloud gaming is starting to rival that, with the focus of that being in Europe, with the secondary market being in Asia. Because, right?
Yeah. Which 20 million people, or 20 million users worldwide, may not seem like a lot when you look at the global population or the global gaming population. But, 20 million users is a huge market. Just a massive market. That's...
But the problem is that it's spread out between so many different services.
Yes, but that shows huge growth potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even, if you had... these people are paying monthly subscriptions to access the cloud gaming, or yearly, some kind of subscription. So, you've got an ongoing...
like Stadia.
Right. But you've got an ongoing revenue stream of, $5 a month, let's say. if you've got that 20 million user base, which yes, it's spread out, etc. But like hypothetically, if you've got 20 million users at $5 a month, that's 100 million a month that you're bringing in as revenue. Like that's $1 billion more, over $1 billion a year business or market, which is ginormous. There are thriving markets that are sub $1 billion for, niche products. It's no auto industry, it's no Microsoft, but it's nothing to sneeze at, and it's only growing all the time. So, I mean, I am against this merger on principle, but it both surprises me, but also makes a lot of sense that they're going, oh yeah, this market, look at how much this market is growing. Look at how this would position Microsoft as a, monopoly holder and would stifle competition and growth. Like, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's a good argument that it's going to potentially choke or kill this burgeoning market because you're going to dump all the power or so much power into a single corporation.
Also, that it's so speculative on what ifs for a decade forward. That's kind of my other kind of hang up on it. Get me wrong, or don't get me wrong on this, is that having this big of a collaboration is worrying. However, at the same time, it seems weird that everything is because, or the big hang up is because of a speculative market that, like I said, I did the digging. There's some really wild numbers there on speculation, but it's also all speculation at this point. We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, it's kind of wild.
I'm happy to see the merger potentially dead, though.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are appealing. And something that's interesting that I don't think it's actually covered in any of the articles is that Microsoft actually tried to auction off some of Activision stuff. And the big one I kept hearing about was them trying to auction off Call of Duty to Valve. And Valve said no. Although never really heard any details about how much it would have been or the reason Valve said no. But right,
I think Microsoft wants King more than anything else. I think Microsoft wants King. I've kind of had this theory for a while, and we haven't talked about it in a hot minute, so I haven't had a chance to bring this up. But the more and more that Microsoft is really like going after this, I think what they want more than anything else is the King part of the Activision Blizzard King. Because, I mean, Activision and Blizzard are huge companies, absolutely, but Microsoft already has a foothold in the console and the PC gaming market space, a huge one. I mean, Microsoft is considered one of the big three with Xbox.
So basically, they want the Candy Crush money.
They want that mobile money, not just Candy Crush, like having access to the publishing arm, the King publishing and development arm. I think they're looking to sort of bootstrap their own mobile presence. Like they tried to do it on their own with the Windows Phone a decade or so ago. That was a huge failure. They've never really had a mobile presence. I think that they're most interested in this whole thing, this whole acquisition for King. And the more they do things like try to bid away Activision or, and these other like things that keep coming up where Microsoft is like, no, we'll sign a deal that like, give you guys a decade. We won't take exclusive control of this or that franchise or this or that property. Like, no, we'll sign that over for a decade or whatever. But they don't talk about King. They don't talk about mobile. That like that has flown under the radar. I think Microsoft just wants to get a foothold in the mobile market because of how much goddamn money is in the mobile market.
I mean, I think you're onto something there, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, mobile market, we're too old for it, essentially.
Yeah, but every once in a while I find a mobile game that I'm interested in, but like, we're old.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say my niece, is big on mobile games, and part of their birthday was, a Apple gift card for their favorite games to, buy into. I know
Yeah.
your kid's the same way, right?
Yeah, my kid is about to get his first phone. Um, we were we haven't given it to him yet. But when I went in and bought my new phone, like we've been talking about getting him something, and we were looking, and it's like we were going to get him a flip phone, like a legit, like old school flip phone, and it was more expensive both to get one and to keep it up on your plan. Like we got a smartphone, and I'm doing air quotes because there's of course like back end costs, and it keeps us in the contract for longer. But we bought a smartphone for free. We got one for free, just like by adding the line to our plan. It's like a fucking like 7. It's a Motorola Edge something or other. So it's not like a flagship phone, but I mean, for my 9-year-old, that's way more than what he needs. But it's like that's what Microsoft wants. They've already got us. They've got us on PC gaming. Other people our age on console gaming. They want that youth money in fucking mobile with their Fortnite mobiles and their I don't know how much the kids play Candy Crush, but mobile gaming. That's my pet theory. I think that it's all about King, or at least mostly about King, and that Activision Blizzard are
or
nice.
Whatever other mobile stuff that they have that we're not thinking about. I mean, that makes a really good point, though.
Yeah,
didn't really consider that one because I was thinking more of the big names, but whenever they started talking about Call of Duty, right?
Yeah, but King is a big name. Just we don't think about it that way,
because we're old.
That's my pet theory, is that this is maybe not exclusively, but mostly about the King part of the acquisition. We'll see. Time will tell, but I feel like I'm onto something here.
Well, we'll see how tight your tinfoil hat is. Assuming, that this continues on, because that's kind of the thing, is that right now, waiting on appeals, because, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll keep covering this story as it develops over the next however many months, possibly years that this drags on.
Centuries.
Yeah, God, I hope I don't. Actually, that's a lie. I want to live forever. Put my brain in a robot, please. But I hope that this doesn't drag on for decades or centuries.
Heat Death of the Universe. Microsoft is there trying to pawn off, Call of Duty, 24,000.
Right. Yeah.
Because they've numbered them so high and so far that it's actually looped back around.
Call of Duty. Again.
Caller of Duty. This time, you're playing the dogs.
Oh. All right. Ready to move on?
Yeah, to kind of a semi-general topic.
Yeah. So, live service keeps killing modestly successful multiplayer games, and it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, this is a article from PC Gamer from a couple weeks ago that I wanted to bring up. And it's highlighting some of the mobile, or I should say mobile games, but mobile games is part of it. Multiplayer games that had a bit of a cult following that just got killed off because games as a service, it just wasn't financially viable to continue developing them, and because they're built around this whole treadmill of progression and new content, it's easier just to kill them off. So the ones that they're highlighting is Multiverses, and Knockout City, Rumbleverse, and a few others where they had a bit of a cult following. I did play a little bit of Knockout City, and I just saw how lousy it was with currencies and shit, so it kind of put me off of it. But I definitely could see how if somebody got into it, they would really enjoy it. But it's different tastes for different folks, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
different strokes for different
mhm.
folks. I mean, we've had this conversation, at least you and I have, and I think it's come up on the show before. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, live service games. There's no room in the market for more than one or two live service games per genre. And that means, kind of by extension, this is kind of an extension of that conversation, which means, like, the unsaid part, but that means that games that are not hugely successful, that try to do the live service thing, are going to wind up dead, which means that a lot of decent to good games are going to get shut down because they didn't make all of the money, because they're unsustainable.
Well, also part of it is games that are built around this live service or games as a service formula. It's so often it feels like the games just do not respect my time. They require so much of an investment to be able to progress anywhere, and I just stop.
Yeah.
Knockout City was a good example where I remember sitting down and doing the calculations roughly. It was like 40 or 50 wins to get the first cosmetic in the store or something like that. That's not part of the freebie battle pass that, let's be honest, everybody's going to look exactly the same because, right?
So not just 40 or 50 games, but 40 or 50 wins.
It was some obscene number, and I'm blanking on exactly what it was. But there was a premium currency, of course, and then there was a secondary currency that you got for winning. And damn, I'm blanking on the numbers exactly. But like I said, it was going to be a long slog. And yes, I know they're all purely cosmetic. However, in a multiplayer game, cosmetics are the gameplay. And especially in a game where it's set around third person, so you're constantly seeing your character on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing all these flashy players, and you're sitting there with a shirt that says fresh meat, which that one is a different one, but it's the same general idea. That's the Ubisoft roller derby one that also got shut down, even though it had a little bit of a player base around it that really loved the game. But same deal, where there was just so much of a treadmill on it that it just felt like it didn't respect my time to be able to try to do anything with it. And I have other games to play. I have my weekly Forza thing to go do, right?
And I think
Which I know is also its own live service thing.
Well, I was gonna say Forza is the only live service game that I play and enjoy, and I do feel like it respects my time. You can do the weekly stuff in Forza in 2 to 3 hours. That's what it takes us every week, is about 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, even faster if you have the expansions, because it makes it so that you can skip the more tedious things or the more difficult things.
Yeah, if all you're interested is getting the rewards for the free cars and everything, then yeah. But if you want to do everything, it might take you 3 hours.
Mm-hmm. And that's 3 hours a week.
Not. Which you could do across multiple play sessions or all in one go. And as far as time goes, I feel like that's respecting my time pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the main thing is the races that if you don't have a car set up, it's not that much longer. But then you have the free-to-play or the mobile games that, ask you to play, a couple hours a day to make the treadmill.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not going to get to the end of the battle pass, and you're going to waste money because you didn't get to the end of your paid battle pass, and it's gone now, and now there's a new battle pass. Better get back on that treadmill.
Are there? I mean, this sounds absurd to me, but so does like half the shit that these corporations do. Is there are there any single player games that are battle pass like focused, or not battle pass? Sorry, live service focused.
The closest I could think of would be something like Warframe. Just kind of off the cuff, which is technically multiplayer, but the main multiplayer is cooperative, and a majority of it you can do single player.
Okay. Maybe MMOs. Like, it's been a long time since I've played an MMO per se, but I could see that. I mean, I know that they're, multiplayers in the title, but so many MMOs these days are...
Hitman.
Hitman?
It's episodic releases.
Oh, okay.
I kind of thought about that one whenever I saw Ubisoft talking about games as a service, which I know. Hitman's probably the closest one, even though that's not really.
I mean, that's better. That's better and closer than what I come up with, which was nothing. So,
the Suicide Squad game, which they're backpedaling on the release date on that one, possibly trying to remove some of the games as a service stuff. There's also the Arkham Knights one.
Oh, Injustice. The Injustice series became a sort of live service type single player game. I know there's a multiplayer component to it, but primarily it's a single player game. Mortal Kombat 2. 2 as in also, not 2 as in the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yep. After we thought about it, we come up with some, and now I'm sad.
All right.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to make sure I got the right one, because it's not Arkham Knight. It's essentially the sequel.
Isn't that one called Arkham Knights, though?
Which is it? Yeah, it's Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights, okay.
And I think it's still... I think it's still exclusive to Epic, unless I'm mistaken. Or maybe they finally released it. I was so utterly indifferent of it whenever I saw the... Oh, no, it's on Steam. Okay. Whew, that's a bad reviews. I know it was on a Humble Bundle at one point for $30 as a top tier, along with a few other things. It was on Humble Bundle in under like 3 months, which is not reassuring
not usually a good sign. Yeah,
which I think they were wanting to do games as a service for it. I'm not sure if they're still going to do it, but that was a game that for a long time I thought it was like some sort of multiplayer like ARPG based on just how they were doing it.
Yeah,
but nope. No, they just don't know what they're doing or how to market it.
That checks out to me that they don't know what they're doing. So yeah. Okay. Are you ready to move on?
Yeah, I think so. It is kind of a shame that so many smaller multiplayer games are just going away, though.
Yeah.
And just the way that there's not a way to continue playing them.
Not without some serious hardcore hacking, going on by dedicated and smart people in the communities. And I don't think as many of these live service games have that dedicated community as some of the, I'm sure, hardcore players wish that they did. So, okay. Moving on to our next news topic. Atari announces acquisition of more than 100 PC and console titles from the 80s and 90s. Look at you, Atari. Look at you go.
Yeah, this is one that's still kind of veiled in secrecy. I haven't seen any full lists since this was announced on the 20th of last month. There's a few titles that pop up. Hardball Demolition Racer, which is an interesting one. Old 2D platformer Bubsy. 1942 Pacific Air War. F-117A and F-14 Air Combat Series. That's kind of the ones that's been brought up, but there's no definitive list of everything that they got. Yeah. Mind you, this isn't the Atari that kind of kicked off gaming. This is like, the reanimated corpse that's been killed again, reanimated, and now it's a shell of the shambling corpse that it was, like 20 years ago.
It's
It's
A homunculus. A gaming company homunculus.
Something like that.
I would say, the what were they called? The TV plug-in things from several years ago that got really popular for a hot minute.
The
Where
micro
Nintendo,
consoles.
yeah, I would say that we're gonna see some of those coming out. Like I've seen a
I'm
couple
surprised
that were
we
like
haven't
Commodore
seen more of them.
64. I've seen one of those.
Yeah, I'm surprised that we haven't seen more of those actually, or compilations. I've seen a few interesting emulation stuff, but that's piracy.
Yeah.
The closest I've seen that's intriguing to me is the and let me just double check this before I say it. Yeah, the interesting one is the Evercade, which is built around actual licensed cartridges for like old Atari and Intellivision stuff.
Yeah.
That's the closest I've seen to like an all-encompassing platform. But even then, you're looking at hang on, now I'm trying to find how much these are. I'm trying to find how much one of these cartridges are. Actually, that's a lot more decent than I thought they would be. Looking at 18 pounds.
Which is probably $25.
Mm-hmm. But just this one at random has 17 games on it. Some of them are a lot more focused. This one only has 8 games, but they're arcade classics, right?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm gonna make a couple of guesses. We're either gonna get some of these console mini type things, but it'll be like an arcade cabinet. We've seen some of those before, or it'll be like the Commodore 64 Mini that I saw last year, or something along those lines, or we'll get these kind of weird. Not weird. They used to make them sort of compilation packs for modern consoles or PC. That's maybe see 3 or 4 of them to get all of the games packed in, and you pay $20 a pack is what I'd imagine they'd sell them for.
Or just simply start pumping out remasters.
They could do that. I don't know how much there is to remaster for some of these old games other than to get them running more easily on modern computer standards.
Well, I'm thinking sequels.
Well, remaster is not the same as a sequel, though.
Well, true. Well, that as well.
Reboots. Series reboots. I could see that for some of these games. I mean, I guess it depends on what all they've got. Their full list.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that. Series reboots. It's just how much time and effort do they want to dedicate? A console mini, not too much effort, not too much cost, probably on par with just getting the games running in some kind of compilation pack for release on PC or console. Developing, new games based on these IP, lot of work, a lot of investment. Depends on what they're.
Although there's also some nostalgia. I mean, Bubsy is one that hasn't seen a sequel in probably 30 years.
Yeah. So,
which wasn't it one time Bubsy kind of lined up to be essentially a mascot for one of the consoles?
I think so, because Bubsy came out around the era like right before Super Mario 64, and Bubsy was like, I remember people talking about him being like a mascot to rival Mario.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there was a Bubsy game released in 2019. Damn. Although it doesn't seem like it was any good, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I have too much more to say about this. I think this is a good thing. Just, Atari getting rights to these games. Game preservation is hard.
Assuming, of course, they're actually going to preserve them. And they're not just going to hoard these titles outside of that select couple and, never allow them to be released out of or I should say, fight people that are trying to preserve them because
Right. You make a good point.
because we saw with American McGee just a couple weeks ago him just leave gaming in general because EA is sitting on the Alice series and refuses to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really my jam, but at the same time, it sucks that, a game series that he developed and built up and wants to do more with, he can't because he doesn't own the rights.
Yeah. I get a little personally upset about intellectual property rights.
Hoarding.
Yeah.
Which, this is kind of, does worry me that they might be doing that as well. Or, building up a catalog for whatever purposes. I mean, like I said, the Atari that we're dealing with at this point is essentially a holding company.
Yeah.
Or an offshoot of a holding company, I should say. Because the Atari name's been passed around so much that that they're having to tape the Atari, hello, my name is Atari, to their shirt. Because the sticky attack on it's already gone off.
Yeah.
It has fuzz from 20 different shirts.
I think I'm going to trust their desire to make money more than their poor tendencies to hoard something.
Yeah, but didn't Atari have a piss poor microconsole launch a couple years ago? So
did it actually launch? I thought it died on the vine.
Now I'm just seeing if I can find it.
Atari VCS. Nope, you can buy it. There's also Atari XP. What is that? Okay, you can buy cartridges, and then you can buy PCBs. Holy shit! Black Widow reproduction PCB, $245. Gravatar reproduction PBC, $245. Major Havoc PCB. That's interesting. Oh, that would be fascinating if they took all of these games and turned them into PCBs for arcade cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that would be good or bad or kind of neutral, but it would be interesting.
Yeah, IGN gave the VCS a poor review, saying it's too expensive for what it is. Which IGN is a softball reviewer. Costly nostalgia and DIY potential from Shack News. Tech Radar gives it a 2.5 out of 5. Struggles with some games, which, hell, it's Atari, right?
Yeah. Kind of going to buy one of these. I'm not going to. That would be a poor financial decision, and I need to be careful about my finances for a hot minute, but I do want to buy one. How much do they cost?
Yeah, I can't buy this. Hang on, let me see the price first.
All-in bundle. Comes with a console and 2 controllers, $300. That's not as bad as I was expecting.
Ooh, Best Buy has it for $400.
Atari VCS delivers a universe of games, apps, streaming, and entertainment built-in Chrome to your TV or monitor in glorious HD.
It's web TV. It's back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, that seems really expensive for what it is.
Yeah.
Especially some of the reviews comment on how it struggles with some of its games.
Still kind of want one.
Atari was really before my time, so I don't have the nostalgia for it.
We had, it wasn't mine. We had a couple of Atari consoles when I was a kid, just kicking around the house. I don't know what happened to them. I haven't seen them in forever. Probably in a box in a closet somewhere at my parents' house, but I have I have some nostalgia, but not enough to make me be like, oh, I'm going to buy this right now, even though I probably shouldn't.
I may have just found something from my niece. I was on GameStop. I hit retro consoles.
Yeah.
So it's a little tabletop Dance Dance Revolution arcade-like machine that you play with dancing your fingers on the pads.
That's cute.
It has some really nasty reviews on it, though. That's hilarious at the same time. It looks like it uses the your cell phone for the screen. So
Like the Atari VCS can be had on eBay for 150 to $200, so half what Atari's selling it for.
that's not a good sign.
No. All right. I don't think I have anything else to say about Atari. Do you?
I don't think so. At least not at the time being.
Okay. Final news topic that's not community corner. 80% of game workers interested in 4-day week, a Skillsearch survey finds.
Giving asking chronically overworked uh, uh, industry. Do you want to work one less day a week? Right.
I mean, there have been a ton of studies outside of just this that claim or that show, not just claim, show that a 4-day work week would be beneficial in our modern economies and our modern lives. Something like 15 to 20% of time spent at work is wasted in a traditional sort of office setting. Or really most jobs, because, you have to be there X number of hours. So you have time that's just like spent wasted. And that if companies would reorganize down to 4-day work weeks or shorter work days, if you're doing 5 days a week still, that would be more beneficial to workers and ultimately would have no loss of productivity. But these companies want to monopolize as much of our time as they possibly can. So why would they do that?
I mean, they've also forced people to come back into offices whenever studies have shown people get more shit done whenever they could just do it at home.
Yep, people get more stuff done, and by and large, they are happier working from home. I mean, there's outliers, and there are certain jobs that either can't be done remotely or have strong benefits for being done in person. But for the most part, people were happier working from home. I was fucking ecstatic. I love working from home. I miss working from home. If I ever change jobs, like either like clinics that I work at, or if something happens and I like wind up jumping ship on my career, I'm never going to work in an office ever again. I'm going to work from home for the rest of my life if the next time I change jobs.
Too many shitty people, right?
Just too, like, it's unnecessary. Like, my job doing therapy does have benefits to in-person. I'm not going to deny that that's the case, but you can get almost the exact same benefit via video therapy sessions. So that's what I'm going to do next time I change jobs. So I'm just going to come home and I'm going to park it right here. I'm going to get a much more comfy desk chair, and my ass is not leaving it. But that's beside the point. I mean, I think most jobs would benefit from a 4-day work week.
And
even if
and an actual livable wage on top of it.
And an actual livable wage on top of it, yes.
Benefits. And while we're doing this, get rid of tipping.
Yep, no more tipping. Just pay people a living wage. If you feel a desire to tip someone for exceptional service in some way, so be it. But let's not make tips a part of... don't make me provide a living wage to your employee. Just pay them more. I mean, technically, I would provide it by buying your product, in this case, food. But, that's fine. I'll pay more for food if you're paying your people a living wage. Anyways, that's socialism.
Right?
Yeah. Let's be fair and balanced here. That's socialism and communism and brr. There, I think we accurately represented the other side, full of dipshits.
I think you were too articulate. And you need some gunfire in there as well.
Right. Well, I've got my handgun sitting here next to me on the desk. Let me just fire off a few rounds. Give everyone that I live with a heart attack. Maybe kill somebody outside walking down the road.
No, you gotta wait for him to ring your doorbell first.
Yeah, castle doctrine. This is my castle. They are breaching it. Therefore, I must shoot them.
Which is very fitting with playing Persona.
Yeah. There is to talk about. Like, I mean, Yes, we both agree with this. Yes, it makes sense. Yes, we are not surprised that a chronically overworked population or chronically overworked sort of type of employee would feel better if they could work less.
Or
I don't know.
mortal.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't know how much more there is to say. Like, 4-day work week, based. Also, eat the rich.
Woo.
That is good and based.
Well, I hope you based them because yes, a lot of them are old and rather stringy, and
True.
and I'm imagining you're gonna have to do like a slow roast because so better baste them.
First, we got to beat the devil out of them. Bob Ross would want that. All right. Moving into our community corner topics. Community corner on our Discord or via email, although that hasn't happened in some time. Occasionally, listeners will drop news articles or funny anecdotes or whatever into our chat.
Discord's been kind of the big stream for this stuff, huh?
Yeah. But anyways, we've got a couple of articles from there over the last couple of weeks. Apple iOS's walled garden doesn't break antitrust laws and appeals court affirms.
Yeah, so Epic lost.
Epic lost.
And Heroes hoping for mutually assured destruction.
Right. But I mean, I'm still happy that, both of these companies had to spend a shitload of money and that Epic lost. I mean,
and pretty much the status quo is upheld.
Maybe happy is the wrong way to say it, but I am entertained.
I mean, I'm not a big fan of Apple products with the walled garden, to be perfectly honest. It's the main reason why I refuse to use an iPhone.
Yeah.
Because if something gets pulled from the Apple App Store, well, it's gone off your phone too.
Yep.
Well, I have a lot more freedom to do whatever the hell I want with Android, which Adia's had second thoughts with her phone choice, seeing some of this shit I do with my phone.
What did she get?
She got an iPhone whenever she went over to my cell phone plan.
Yeah.
So a fairly recent one. It wasn't the brand new one, but it was close enough that she's not going to upgrade for a few years. But she's seen me not have to worry about storage space because I put a micro SD card in my phone.
Right.
So it really stinks. Like I said, that the walled garden is upheld. Not that I'm on Epic's side, far from it actually. But I would have liked to seen some sort of ability to sideload shit.
Yeah, both sides suck. Give users a right to do what they want with the devices that they've purchased.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
making me think of the right to repair legislation and
how it was
a couple of states.
Decapped.
Yeah,
then it was decapped in New York by basically saying, "Oh well, you can just sell entire assemblies." So you need to a new headphone jack. Well, they're going to sell you an entire charge, the charging circuitry and everything else, and instead of it being a $5 part, it's going to be a $50 part, and that's before upcharging.
Yep. So, yeah, it's honestly I hadn't thought about this case in a while. It's been a hot minute since it, the last time we've talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it has, of course, been ongoing for 18 months.
Oh, God. Right.
Maybe 2 full years. So it just takes a long time for these things to wind through court. Because when you've got companies with this much money on both sides of the equation, then they've got, teams of lawyers that get paid millions, tens of millions of dollars a year, filing motions and all kinds of stuff left and right, like bogging down the proceedings.
Yeah, so the first challenge was in 2020, so pre-COVID. I remember them... this was the one that they did the Fortnite parody of Apple's
19... Yeah, the 1984 ad or whatever it was.
Yeah, 1984 ad, yeah. Yeah, like, the moment that it went down, they had it prepped and ready to go.
Yeah, They knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it cost them a lot of money and really got nothing out of it. Outside of making themselves look like giant bellends. I've been watching a couple British YouTubers, so.
Yeah. Which they are villains. All mega corporations are villains.
No, bellend.
Oh, bellends. I thought you said villain.
No, bellend.
Right. I know what that is. All major corporations are also bellends.
So, anything really else to comment on this outside of, well, that's over. At least for now, there will be appeals, of course.
Yeah. No, I have no further comment.
Okay, so last one, and oh boy, fan unwittingly scores some new Magic the Gathering cards and gets the Pinkertons on their ass. I saw this, or I heard this covered in a couple podcasts. Essentially, they ordered a booster pack or a booster box of one set and match, and through a comedy of errors, they were sent an unreleased set of cards because it has a very similar name. Yeah, it's like the expansion onto whatever they bought. And Wizards of the Coast sent the Pinkertons after them. And extremely aggressive on their part. Yeah, talking about how they're violating copyright law and they're going to sue, and if they don't give up all the property right now, they're going to lose everything they have, and called the police on them, and the Pinkertons called the police on the people that bought the cards. Mind you, they did nothing wrong. They were given the wrong box, essentially. But Wizards of the Coast, in their ultimate paranoia, said that they somehow stole this box of booster cards and then posted it online because, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of mind-blowing, honestly. That, one, the Pinkertons are, I know that they're around, but at the same time, it feels weird,
Yeah.
But also, this isn't the first time the Wizards of the Coast have unleashed the Pinkertons on them, on people, because they're really good at strong-arming people. They have been for a very long time.
Yeah. Perusing this article for anything else more interesting to discuss.
It does make me wonder if the homeowner has some sort of, like libel case against Wizards of the Coast, calling them thieves and such. But it's David and Goliath, and right.
Yeah. Also, I wouldn't feel like it would matter if he had standing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he would still wind up getting fucked.
Mm-hmm. True. Anything interesting to talk about, or
no?
Is it kind of just a headline and then Wizards of the Coast are kind of a bag of dicks?
That's mostly it. It's a headline, and then Wizards of the Coast, very paranoid, bag of dicks. Pinkerton Detective Agency. So you could just hire the Pinkertons. Interesting. Yep. This isn't like some weird coincidence. Like, no, you can just hire them. Good to know, I guess.
I mean, they're famous for a reason, though.
Yeah.
Or I should say infamous. They're so famous, they're infamous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything else that's really worth mentioning. The headline is the fucking most interesting thing, that the Pinkertons, the literal Pinkertons, showed up to get some Magic the Gathering cards. And
also supposedly they wanted receipts for all the cards that they had. Mind you, this is a major streamer and Magic the Gathering player. So they had something on the order of 1 million cards.
God damn. Yeah,
that's a lot of money tied up for that.
Huh? Yeah.
That's some expensive cardboard.
So yeah. Any final thoughts you have before we move towards the end of the show?
Well, Wizards of the Coast are a bag of dicks, so.
Wizards of the Coast are a bag of dicks.
And also, I'm way too poor to even want to play Magic the Gathering. Because, damn, that gets expensive quickly. Yeah. It's almost as bad as a mobile game. Not quite, but it's up there.
Close. All right. Well, Rach, how can people send us stuff in the community corner or otherwise talk to us if they want to?
Well, if you wish to email us, it's vglpodcast@gmail.com. You can drop us a tweet over at VGL Podcast on the Twitter. Even though I don't really use Twitter that much these days, I do still check it. And it's, the bird is not quite dead, but oh boy, right?
Yeah.
But if you wish to get into the Discord, you can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com, which has been kind of our big, community outreach.
Indeed. So it's midnight, more or less. I do not I'm too sleepy and have to get up too early to engage in a discovery queue. Personally.
Sorry, I was coughing. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you're good. What I said was it is midnight.
Mm-hmm.
I am too tired and have to get up too early to really want to engage in a discovery queue.
Okay. Well, I will say the first game I had on my queue, Jedi Survivor.
Nice.
Yeah. Also known as the latest of deployed apology.jpg.
Indeed. And we might wind up talking about that next week. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Because I hit the mic trying to throw away my cough drop wrapper.
So, hey, Rage, why don't you hit us with them socials?
Oh, I've been Caffeine Rage. You could check out my old tweets over at Gaming with CR. Maybe I'll tweet again someday. I think Elon Musk will have to give up Twitter before that at this point because, oh boy. Right. If you wish to be my friend on Steam, you can find me over there at Caffeine Rage as well. And you've been?
I've been Jared. You can find me on our Discord, which has already been mentioned. You can find me on Twitter at JMA4707. You can find me every other week or so running a game on Wednesday nights. This is being streamed on twitch.tv/runicarts. We are still playing Vampire the Masquerade, but whenever we finish that campaign, we intend to play a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Something a little more classic magical fantasy. So, that'll be good.
Woo!
Woo! But, that does it for my stuff.
Which means I scroll all the way back up to the top. And once again, you can contact us VGLpodcast at gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, tweet them to VGL Podcast, or hop on the Discord, which you can find a link to that as well as hopefully all our stuff, dead and not, VGLpodcast.podbean.com. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. Our intro downtrend music is On the Ground by Ken McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya.